What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the exotic weapons we have available in Fortnite Act 2 and letting you know which ones I think are worth using. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more, comment down below which of these exotics you prefer or which one is your favorite, and if you guys would like to use my code in the shop when getting anything, it is EvolveJake, just like my channel name is, and it is underneath the webcam at all times. So with this batch of exotics that we have available in the rivalry stations, we have the exotic OXR Rifle, the Exotic Wrecker Revolver, and then the Boom Sniper, which is kind of random, but those are the three exotics that you can currently purchase. We're going to start off with the OXR Rifle. This is the one that I was most excited for because I really enjoyed the exotic OXR Rifle in Chapter 6, Season 4. This OXR rifle gets boosted damage as you hit shots, so your damage kind of ramps up as you hit shots on enemies, and it gets to the point where you will absolutely melt people, especially if you're hitting headshots. And I absolutely loved this weapon in Chapter 6 Season 4. It was incredibly good, it was incredibly satisfying, and incredibly effective in game. But I haven't really liked it much this season, and I was really looking forward to it. With how this season plays out, you get into a lot of fights while in air, whether it's overdrive nading onto somebody, using the 7 power gloves to push somebody, uppercutting an enemy with the 7 power gloves, or getting uppercut yourself with the 7 power gloves. There is a lot of fights that take place in air. If you like using the zip line, you're going to be in air. If you like using the flowberry fizz and kind of jumping to hit shots, you're probably going to be in air. And the aim down sights in air feature is utilized a lot in Chapter 7, but especially this season, because a lot of fights you're either gloving an enemy or getting gloved yourself. And in those situations, the OXR rifle is a significantly worse spray weapon than the Thunderburst SMG and the pistol, because both the Thunderburst SMG and the pistol have really good jumping accuracy. And this is, again, a type of fight that's going to happen a lot this season. It might seem like simple, like, yeah, just don't jump when you shoot. But a lot of the more pivotal fights this season play out around the gloves. And those are often going to be in situations where you're in air. Will there be situations where you're just on the ground shooting at people and this weapon does good? Definitely. That will happen for sure. But a lot of the pivotal kind of game deciding fights versus the good players involve the gloves and involve the uppercuts. And even if you aren't someone who's trying to opt into that playstyle yourself, it's going to happen sometimes where the enemies get on you and start uppercutting you. And if you shotgun them and then switch to a spray weapon that's really inaccurate, that can completely cost you the fight. So the prevalence of in-air fights, I feel like makes this weapon not that good to use. Also, one difference from now compared to Chapter 6 Season 4 is during that season, there is a boon you could purchase that would make your weapons more accurate. And so this weapon had less bloom and less spread that season most of the time because you were going to get that boon. Without that boon in the game, it feels like the weapon has a lot more bloom or a lot more spread to deal with. And when you tap fire, especially at range, you can hit every shot, it'll be good. And the first shot accuracy reset time isn't that bad. But in kind of sketchy fights where you're spraying, or again, the situations I outlined where you're like uppercutting and stuff, I do not like this gun as much. Another difference between now and Chapter 6 Season 4 is the double pump with the Wrecker Revolver was a really prevalent playstyle, whether you were using 2 Wrecker Revolvers or a Wrecker Revolver and another shotgun after the double Wrecker got patched. It was very common to use your OXR rifle, the Wrecker Revolver, and then some other form of shotgun. And then you would alternate between the Wrecker Revolver and that other shotgun, right? That meant that you weren't really using the OXR rifle as a spray weapon to complement your shotgun. But this season, it's a lot more common for people to just use 2 weapons, double mobility and heals. And as I touched on, the mobility is a big part of this season. And so using this as a spray weapon, it just doesn't feel as good. And I find myself needing to use it as a spray weapon more. You could run 3 weapons, and at that point, this weapon would have a lot more of like value in your inventory, but it's not something I really want to do. And also, if I was going to use 3 weapons to have one of them be like more of a long range option, the DMR does that well. Like the Vector DMR is incredibly good. I just don't really use it because I don't want to use 3 weapons. So if I'm going to be using 3 weapons to use this OXR, might as well be using the DMR at that point and save the rivalry coin. So I think this weapon is good. It's very satisfying, but it just doesn't fit this season very well, and it doesn't fit the current meta well. The next weapon we're going to talk about is going to be the Exotic Wrecker Revolver. This was also in Chapter 6 Season 4. And the first thing a lot of people thought of when this was back in the loot pool is, can you double pump with it again? Can you use this Wrecker Revolver in another shotgun? And you absolutely can. It wasn't patched or changed in any way. However, one thing that is kind of a wrench in that, I guess, is that if you remember, this Exotic Wrecker Revolver wasn't the best for double pumping, and it was more of like a spray style shotgun, because what this Exotic Wrecker does, it has a faster fire rate when hip firing. It has a lower base damage than the regular Wrecker Revolver, and then it also has a higher headshot multiplier. And the fact that it shoots faster while hip firing means this is more of a spray weapon or spray style shotgun than the traditional Wrecker Revolver. And it is fully automatic. You can just hold down the shoot button and you will throw out a lot of shots very quickly with this. And so while you can double pump with it, I think the ideal playstyle is just to use this in the same way that you kind of would the twin hammer shotguns. Just think of this as a fully automatic shotgun, and it actually does that incredibly good. The damage on it can be kind of lacking because of the way this exotic has lower base damage, but it can make up for that with a higher headshot multiplier. But it's kind of weird to go for headshots with this, because if you want to hit a really good hard-hitting headshot, you probably need to aim in, and then at that point, you're not getting your boosted fire rate. So it is a weird weapon to kind of play around. It feels like no matter what you do, you aren't getting the most of it. But I think it's just best, as I said, to play with this like you would the twin hammer shotguns. And then if you get into a fight that's a little bit slower or a little bit more long range, then you can aim in and try to hit a hard hitting headshot. And that's definitely possible with this exotic. But if you're in a scrappy close range shotgun fight, you want to just be full spamming this like it's an automatic shotgun. And it does that well. And if you like the spammy shotguns, you'll probably really like this. When I was using it, it definitely felt like it shot faster to me than the twin hammer shotguns. But I really don't know if I would rather have this than the twin hammer shotguns. I feel like the base damage on the hammers is easier to hit hard with because it does have that higher base damage, where this exotic Wrecker Revolver wants to get headshots for that to happen. And it's hard to hit a high damage headshot while hip firing unless you're barrel stuffing the opponent. So whether or not it's better than the twin hammers, I think it really just comes down to preference and playstyle. I do think it is more versatile than the twin hammers. It might be a bit weaker up close, but the fact that you have that better range potential and you can aim in for those hard hitting headshots when the situation calls for it can be, a huge point of value for you. So if you like high fire rate shotguns, you don't really like weapon swapping or anything like that, both this and the twin hammer shotguns, will be good, and it just comes down to preference. The final one we're going to talk about is going to be the boom sniper. This is a sniper that shoots clinger grenades that blow up over time. And this is a weapon that I've never really cared for. I think it definitely has more potential in build mode because you could just spam it on people's walls and then the grenades sometimes drop into their box. But with how zero build plays, this would be best in very stalematy situations or very slow situations, maybe zoning people off of cover, zoning people out of bushes. Especially once the storm gets smaller, forcing people into a bad situation can help you a lot. So it does have a lot of situational value, denying cover to the enemy, denying bushes to the enemy, denying bunkers to the enemy. But with the pace this season plays at, and with how much mobility there is, I don't find myself wanting to use this at all. As a sniper, it's really not that great. It's best, kind of like I said, as more of zone denial or area denial to the enemies, or forcing them out from cover, forcing them out of bad situations. And I think in that instance, you're probably going to get the most value of this in team game modes. I mostly play solos, and I think in solos this is a pretty bad weapon. But in something like squads, maybe, you have more inventory slots to go around. You can kind of justify the use of a more situational item like this better. And I feel like you get in more slow, stalematey situations in squads at times, especially in the end game. And in those situations, being able to force enemies out of cover, out of bushes, out of bunkers, whatever, can be, really helpful. Maybe you get a knock and you start, shooting this to try to force people away from the revive. You can use it to get a pick because you can, force people out from behind cover. But with the pace solos and duos plays at this season, I don't really see myself wanting to use this, or much situations where it would be good. But in squads, maybe it's a different story. And pretty much every really situational item like this, I feel like has more potential in squads. But you don't end up in a lot of situations where enemies are just really pinned down and not able to do much this season because of how much mobility there is. People are just going to glove away from it. They're going to overdrive nade away from it. they're going to glove to you, they're going to overdrive nade to you, and then at that point, the sniper is useless. And with the pace this season plays at because of all that mobility, I really want to have double mobility, and that makes it hard to justify using something like this. So I think the Exotic OXR and the Wrecker Revolver can be pretty good, but the Boom Sniper is not really something I want to use. But that is going to be it for this video. As always, if you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you would like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.